There was a moment in World War II when the skies over Europe darkened, not from storm clouds, but from American steel. When German soldiers looked up and saw wave after wave of US bombers stretching across the horizon like an endless mechanical thunderstorm, many of them understood something chilling. They were no longer fighting just another army. They were facing the full industrial power of the United States of America. And in that moment, the balance of the war quietly began to shift. When the war began in 1939, Nazi Germany appeared unstoppable. Blitzkrieg tactics tore through Poland, crushed France in weeks, and forced much of Europe into submission. German tanks rolled forward with speed and coordination the world had never seen before. Their air force dominated the skies. To many observers at the time, it looked like modern warfare had been perfected in Berlin. Across the Atlantic, America watched cautiously. The country was divided. Isolationist sentiment was strong. Many believed the conflict was Europe's problem. But everything changed on December 7th, 1941. Pearl Harbor was not just a military strike, it was a national awakening. Almost overnight, the United States transformed from a debating nation into a mobilizing giant. Factories that once built cars began producing tanks. Typewriter companies started manufacturing rifles. Shipyards launched vessels at speeds that stunned military analysts worldwide. Aircraft production numbers rose so rapidly that even U.S. commanders struggled to believe the statistics. America didn't just join the war, it redefined what total war production looked like. By 1943, something remarkable was happening over Europe. Massive formations of B-17 flying fortresses and B-24 liberators roared toward German industrial centers. At first, the losses were heavy. German fighters attacked aggressively. Anti-aircraft fire filled the sky. But American strategy evolved. And then came one of the war's most important technological answers, the P-51 Mustang, with long-range escort capability. For German pilots, this was a turning point. Previously, they could strike bombers and retreat. Now, American fighters could escort bombers deep into German territory and back again. The skies were no longer theirs. Reports from German air units began reflecting growing concern. The United States wasn't just building aircraft, it was building better systems, better coordination, and better logistics. On the ground, the story was similar. The M4 Sherman tank was not always the most heavily armored machine on the battlefield, but it represented something Germany could not match: scale. While Germany produced technologically impressive but mechanically complex tanks like the Panther and Tiger, America produced Shermans by the thousands. They were reliable, easier to repair, and supported by an unmatched supply chain. War is fought with courage, but it is won with production. Then came June 6, 1944, D-Day, the largest amphibious invasion in history. Thousands of ships crossed the English Channel. Tens of thousands of American soldiers stormed the beaches of Normandy under relentless fire. But behind every rifleman stood something even more powerful: an ocean-spanning logistical machine that ensured fuel, ammunition, food, and reinforcements flowed continuously. German commanders began to recognize a harsh reality. They were fighting not only brave soldiers, but an economic engine that seemed limitless. American rail systems, oil production, steel output, and agricultural capacity fed the war effort in ways no European power could replicate under bombing pressure. And while battles raged in Europe and the Pacific, American scientists were quietly working on something that would change the world forever. The Manhattan Project brought together some of the greatest scientific minds of the era. In complete secrecy, they developed a weapon unlike anything in human history. When atomic bombs were dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, the war ended. but a new era began. For many Germans who survived the conflict, it became clear that they had underestimated the industrial and technological might of the United States. The war was not decided by one battle or one general. It was decided by factories running day and night, by innovation, by coordination, and by the ability of a free society to mobilize its resources with extraordinary speed. And when German forces finally realized the scale of what they were up against, the outcome had already begun to take shape. The United States had not only entered the war, it had transformed it.